The sirens aboard Theta Station screamed their warning too late. By the time Captain Rebecca Hayes reached the command center, the unknown vessels had already dropped out of hyperspace. 17 sleek ships that resembled polished obsidian, their hulls absorbing sensor scans like black holes swallowing light. "Status report," Hayes barked, her dark eyes fixed on the tactical display as she smoothed back her prematurely graying hair. The command center buzzed with controlled panic as her crew worked to understand what they were facing. "No known match in our database, Captain," Lieutenant Park responded, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "Their energy signatures are off the charts. They're not even trying to mask them." Theta Station represented humanity's furthest reach into space, a research and mining facility orbiting a resource-rich gas giant, 70 light-years from Earth. Its state-of-the-art defenses had been designed to handle pirates and natural hazards. No one had expected first contact to come in the form of a battle fleet. "Open all frequencies," Hayes ordered. "Let's try to talk before." The station shuddered as invisible forces grabbed it like a toy in a child's hand. Warning klaxons screamed as structural integrity alerts flashed across every screen. "Some kind of directed gravitational field," Chief Engineer Patel reported, her voice tight with professional concern. "They're not attacking. They're testing us. Like scientists examining a specimen." The translation matrix crackled to life, converting alien transmissions into synthesized speech. "Primitive species detected. Technology level, Class 3. Threat assessment, minimal. Preparing for standard subjugation protocols." Hayes felt her jaw clench. Humanity had dreamed of first contact for centuries, imagining everything from benevolent teachers to hostile invaders. No one had predicted being dismissed as a scientific curiosity. "All hands, battle stations," she commanded. "Begin emergency evacuation procedures for non-essential personnel. And get me a quantum link to Earth Command. They need to know what's coming." The alien vessels, the Nexari, according to their own transmissions, moved with impossible precision, their formation shifting like a school of predatory fish. Their gravitational weapons plucked defense satellites from orbit, crushed automated defense platforms, and methodically began dismantling the station's outer layers. "They're not just technologically advanced," Park observed, analyzing the sensor data. "Their entire approach to physics seems different. They're manipulating fundamental forces as easily as we manipulate matter." Hayes watched as her crew fought back with everything they had. Rail guns fired salvos of hypervelocity rounds, only to watch them curve away from their targets. Plasma torpedoes dispersed harmlessly against gravitational shields. Every countermeasure they launched was casually brushed aside. "Quantum link established with Earth Command," Communications Officer Chen announced. The holographic image of Admiral Kenzo Yamamoto materialized, his expression grim as he absorbed the tactical data. "Captain Hayes, hold position as long as you can without sacrificing lives unnecessarily. Help is coming, but we need time. There's a project, something that might give us a fighting chance, but it's not ready yet." "With all due respect, Admiral, we're not exactly in a position to go anywhere," Hayes responded dryly as another tremor ran through the station. "But whatever this project is, I suggest you hurry. I don't think these visitors are interested in diplomatic relations." The Nexari ships had surrounded the station in a perfect geometric pattern. Their gravitational weapons weren't designed to destroy. They were methodically taking the station apart, analyzing its construction, its technology, its very atoms. The message was clear. Resistance wasn't just futile. It was beneath their notice. "Fascinating primitives," the translated Nexari communications continued, "using brute force manipulation of electromagnetic energy rather than fundamental force control. Inefficient, wasteful, but potentially useful as labor-class species." Hayes felt her blood boil at their casual dismissal of humanity's achievements. They'd crossed the vast gulf between stars, built this station, dreamed and worked and sacrificed to reach this point. And these aliens viewed them as nothing more than primitive curiosities to be cataloged and controlled. Reactor containment failing, Paddle reported. Their gravitational fields are affecting the plasma streams. We have maybe 20 minutes before catastrophic failure. Hayes nodded grimly. Begin final evacuation protocols. Download the station's database to the emergency buoys. If we're going to lose this station, let's make sure Earth gets every scrap of data we can about these bastards. As her crew carried out their orders with professional precision, Hayes studied the alien ships. Yes, their technology was centuries ahead of humanity's. Yes, they could crush the station like an aluminum can. But their very superiority revealed a critical weakness. They hadn't bothered to check the escape pods for anything but life signs. They hadn't considered that a primitive species might think to hide data cores inside them. You know what humanity's greatest strength is? She broadcast on all frequencies as the evacuation proceeded. It's not our technology. It's not our weapons. It's the fact that we've spent our entire history being underestimated. By nature, by each other, and now by you. And we're still here. The Nexari didn't bother to respond. Why would they? From their perspective, they were simply conducting a routine cataloging of an inferior species. They didn't realize they had just made the greatest mistake in their species' history. As Theta Station died, its reactor deliberately destabilized to mask the energy signatures of the fleeing escape pods. Humanity's first contact with an alien civilization ended not with a diplomatic exchange, but with a declaration of war. Not a war of ships and weapons, but a war of perspectives, between those who saw humanity as primitive specimens to be studied, and those who were about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon had always been its ability to surpass the limitations others placed upon it. The game had begun, and the Nexari's contempt had just given humanity the one thing it needed most: time to prepare a response that would shatter their understanding of what was possible. 3 kilometers beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a facility known only as Deep Point 7, Dr. Maya Patel stood before a holographic representation of the impossible. The massive spherical chamber around her hummed with barely contained power as dozens of scientists and engineers worked at their stations, all focused on the same goal: turning theoretical physics into a weapon. "Show me the latest gravitational field test results," she commanded, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. Maya hadn't slept properly in the month since Theta Station fell, since she'd watched her sister Priya's last transmission as chief engineer. The hologram shifted, displaying complex wave patterns that shouldn't exist in normal space. "The quantum entanglement is holding stable at 87%, reported Dr. James Chen, his fingers manipulating the data streams with practiced ease. "We're getting closer to replicating the Nexari's gravitational control, but there's still something we're missing." Maya nodded, studying the patterns. The Nexari manipulated gravity as easily as humans manipulated electricity, but their approach was fundamentally different from what Earth scientists had theorized possible. Instead of trying to match their technology, Project Starforge was attempting something far more ambitious and far more dangerous. "They see gravity as a force to be controlled," Maya mused, walking through the hologram. "But what if we're thinking too conventionally? They manipulate the existing gravitational field. What if we instead create our own?" James finished, his eyes widening as he followed her logic. "That's insane." The energy requirements alone mooled. The facility's alert system interrupted them, klaxons wailing as Admiral Yamamoto's hologram materialized in the center of the chamber. "Dr. Patel, we're out of time. The Nexari have found our colony on Proxima b. They'll reach Earth within 2 months." Maya's heart raced, but her voice remained calm. "Admiral, we're close to a breakthrough, but we need more time to run proper safety protocols. What we're attempting here could destroy half the solar system if it goes wrong." Yamamoto finished. "I'm aware of the risks, Doctor, but the Nexari have already subjugated 3 of our outer colonies. Their ships are systematically dismantling our defenses while studying our technology like we're insects in a jar. We need a weapon they won't expect." Maya turned to the massive device taking shape behind the radiation shielding, the culmination of Project Starforge. It looked deceptively simple. A sphere of crystalline material suspended in a magnetic field, its surface etched with patterns that seemed to shift when viewed directly. But its purpose was anything but simple. "What we're attempting goes beyond weapons," she explained, not for the first time. "The Nexeri manipulate existing gravitational fields. We're trying to create localized points where the laws of physics themselves can be rewritten. If we succeed, we won't just match their technology. We'll transcend it. And if you fail, then the test site becomes a singularity that could potentially swallow the Earth." Maya met the Admiral's holographic gaze. "But you already knew that when you approved this project." Yamamoto nodded grimly. "The Nexeri believe they understand the fundamental laws of the universe. They see us as primitives because we don't match their level of control over these laws. But they've never encountered a species willing to break those laws entirely." Maya turned to her team. "Initialize final compilation sequence. If we're going to do this, we do it now." The chamber erupted into controlled chaos as scientists and engineers rushed to their stations. The crystalline sphere began to pulse with an inner light that seemed to bend reality around it. "Dr. Chen, begin quantum field generation," Maya ordered, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. "Dr. Rodriguez, monitor spatial stability. The moment you detect any anomalies." "We've got movement in the quantum field," James announced, his voice tight with excitement or fear, perhaps both. "The crystalline matrix is responding exactly as the simulations predicted. It's actually working." The sphere's pulsing intensified, and Maya felt a sensation she couldn't quite describe, as if reality itself was holding its breath. The gravitational sensors were reporting impossible readings, showing forces that shouldn't exist in normal spacetime. "Field containment at maximum," Rodriguez reported. "But these readings, it's like we're creating a pocket of space where our physics don't apply, where we get to write new rules." Maya watched as the impossible became reality before her eyes. The Nexeri had mastered the existing laws of physics, but humanity had just taken the first step towards something far more revolutionary: the ability to rewrite those laws entirely. "Admiral," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "tell the defense forces to hold on. We're not just developing a weapon. We're about to change the fundamental nature of warfare itself." As the crystalline sphere continued its reality-bending pulse, Maya thought of her sister Priya, of the casual dismissal in the Nexeri transmissions, of humanity being treated as primitive specimens to be studied and controlled. The Nexeri thought they understood the limits of what was possible. They were about to learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't our mastery of existing laws. It was our willingness to imagine beyond them. "Begin final testing sequence," she commanded. "It's time to show the galaxy why underestimating humanity is the last mistake anyone should make." The chamber hummed with power as Project Starforge entered its final phase. In 2 months, the Nexeri would arrive at Earth expecting to find a primitive species ready for subjugation. Instead, they would encounter something they had never imagined possible: a species that didn't just break the rules of physics, but rewrote them entirely. High Commander Vexar of the Nexeri expansion fleet watched with clinical detachment as his ships approached the Sol system. The primitive human defenses around their outer planets had fallen exactly as predicted, their crude weapons barely registering against Nexeri gravitational shields. "Analysis of human military capability confirms initial assessment," his science officer reported, crystalline appendages shifting in what passed for excitement among their kind. "Their most advanced weapons rely on primitive particle acceleration and plasma containment. They have no understanding of fundamental force manipulation." Vexar's outer shell rippled with color, indicating mild amusement. Their resistance at Theta Station was surprisingly organized, despite their technological inferiority. "Have the research division completed their analysis of the station's remains?" "Fascinating results, High Commander. Despite their primitive technology, they show remarkable adaptability. Their solutions, while inefficient, display unexpected creativity in working around their limitations. The massive viewscreen showed Earth's solar system spread before them. Already, their long-range sensors detected human vessels attempting to organize a defense. Their energy signatures were painfully obvious, their movements predictable based on their limited understanding of physics. Launch probe satellites. Vexar ordered. Standard Subjugation Protocol 3. Let them exhaust their defenses against automated systems before we. High Commander. The sensor officer's crystalline form flickered with alarm, detecting unusual spatial distortions near the human fleet. Energy signatures unlike anything in our database. The viewscreen shifted focus, showing a section of space where reality itself seemed to bend. Human ships emerged from the distortion, but they were unlike anything the Nexari had encountered before. Their hulls seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously, defying the basic laws of physics that the Nexari had mastered centuries ago. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the ESS Prometheus, humanity's first reality forge vessel. The ship hummed around her, its crystalline core pulsing with power that rewrote the local laws of physics. Through the neural interface Dr. Patel had designed, she could feel the ship's systems as extensions of her own consciousness. All reality forge ships, report status, she commanded, her thoughts translating directly into ship-wide communications. The responses came instantly from the other 11 vessels of humanity's new fleet. ES Defiant, ready. ES Hyperion, standing by. ESS Phoenix, all systems nominal. Each ship carried a scaled-down version of Project Starforge's breakthrough technology. Devices capable of creating localized bubbles where humanity wrote its own laws of physics. They weren't trying to match the Nexari's mastery of natural laws. They were creating spaces where those laws simply didn't apply. Nexari vessels holding position, her tactical officer reported. They appear to be confused by our energy signatures. Chen smiled grimly. Of course they are. They've spent centuries mastering the rules of the universe. We just showed up with an eraser and started rewriting them. The Nexari fleet's perfect formation shifted as they attempted to analyze the threat before them. Their gravitational weapons reached out, trying to grip the human vessels in fields of focused space-time distortion. But within the reality bubbles generated by the Starforge cores, gravity was whatever humanity decided it should be. Demonstration protocol authorized. Chen broadcast to her fleet. Show them exactly what humanity's been working on. The reality forge ships moved in perfect synchronization, their cores pulsing with impossible energy. Space itself seemed to shudder as they created overlapping fields where physics became more suggestion than law. Nexari weapons, designed to manipulate natural forces, found themselves trying to affect spaces where those forces followed human rules instead. Their gravitational fields scattered harmlessly against barriers that ignored traditional physics. Their sensor beams passed through ships that existed in multiple states simultaneously. High Commander, the Nexari science officer's voice carried an unfamiliar tone. Uncertainty. These humans, they're not just manipulating fundamental forces, they're locally rewriting the laws that govern them. This should not be possible. Vexar watched as his perfect formation began to break apart, individual ships struggling to cope with a threat that defied their understanding of reality itself. How? They were primitive. Their technology was centuries behind ours. Sir, his tactical officer interrupted, the human vessels are moving to attack positions. Their energy signatures are impossible to predict. We can't establish targeting solutions. Chen felt the Starforge core's power flow through her ship as she issued commands with thought alone. All ships, execute attack pattern Omega. Remember your training. Don't think in terms of normal space combat. Imagine where you want to be, and the cores will make it happen. The human fleet moved like dancers in a lethal ballet, appearing simultaneously in multiple locations, their weapons fire coming from spaces where weapons shouldn't exist. They didn't need to overpower the Nexari defenses. They simply created local conditions where those defenses had never existed in the first place. Impossible. Vexar's outer shell flashed with patterns of distress as his flagship's systems reported cascade failures. Fall back to secondary positions. Recalibrate gravitational fields tow. High Commander, his science officer interrupted. 3 of their ships just occupied the same space simultaneously. They're not just breaking physics. They're mocking it. Chen watched through the neural interface as the Nexari fleet's perfect precision crumbled in the face of humanity's reality-warping technology. Send the message, she ordered. Let's see if they're ready to talk now. The transmission went out on all frequencies. Nexari fleet, this is Admiral Chen of the Earth Space Force. Your understanding of physics is impressive. But humanity's greatest strength isn't our mastery of natural laws. It's our ability to imagine beyond them. Your surrender will be accepted. As the Nexari fleet began to break formation, their carefully ordered understanding of the universe shattered by humanity's impossible technology, Chen thought of all those who had died at Theta Station. The Nexari had arrived expecting to find primitive specimens to study and subjugate. Instead, they had found a species that refused to accept the limitations others placed upon it. A species that, when pushed, would rewrite reality itself to survive. Dr. Maya Patel stood in the observation chamber of the ESS Prometheus, watching as reality itself danced to humanity's tune. Through the specialized quantum glass, she could see the effects of the reality forge cores as they rewrote local physics, spaces where multiple possibilities existed simultaneously, regions where cause and effect became suggestions rather than laws. The Nexari fleet is retreating to the outer system, Admiral Chen reported, her neural interface allowing her to process tactical data instantly. But their scientific vessels are maintaining observation positions. They're trying to understand what we've created. Maya smiled grimly. They won't succeed. Not if they keep thinking in terms of conventional physics. She turned to the holographic display showing the battle's aftermath. They spent centuries mastering the universe's rules. We just proved those rules can be rewritten. The Prometheus's reality forge core pulsed with steady power, maintaining a bubble of altered physics around the ship. Through the neural interface, Chen could feel the strange mathematics that governed this new reality. Equations that described a universe where humanity's imagination had more weight than natural law. We're receiving a transmission from the Nexari command ship, the communications officer announced. Their High Commander is requesting a dialogue. On the main screen, High Commander Vexar's crystalline form shimmered with complex patterns of light, emotional displays that the ship's AI was still learning to interpret. You have achieved what we thought impossible, the translated voice stated. Our understanding of physics, our mastery of fundamental forces, you have rendered them obsolete. Not obsolete, Maya replied, stepping forward, just incomplete. You saw the universe as a set of unchangeable laws to be mastered. We saw it as a framework to be revised. The Nexari commander's patterns shifted again. Your species was rated as primitive. Class 3 technology. Limited understanding of fundamental forces. How did you conceive of this? How did you even imagine it was possible? Chen and Maya exchanged glances. How to explain to a species that prided itself on perfect understanding that humanity's greatest breakthroughs often came from refusing to accept that something was impossible? Let me show you, Maya offered, sending data through the quantum link. These are our early theoretical models. See how they evolved not from asking, how does physics work, but how could physics work? The Nexari scientific vessels moved closer, their sensors drinking in data from the reality distortions around the human fleet. Their rigid adherence to established physical laws had made them masters of the natural universe. Humanity's willingness to question those laws had made them masters of possibility itself. Your ships, Vexar observed, they don't just manipulate space-time. They create regions where different laws apply entirely, where reality itself becomes negotiable. Exactly, Maya confirmed. The reality forge cores don't try to work within existing physics. They create localized bubbles where we define new physics. Want gravity to repel instead of attract. Done. Want cause to follow effect instead of precede it? We can do that too. The implications were staggering. The Nexeri had built their civilization on understanding and manipulating natural laws. Humanity had just demonstrated that those laws themselves could be rewritten. It wasn't just a technological advancement. It was a fundamental shift in how the universe itself could be understood and manipulated. Your victory was never about the technology itself, was it? Vexar's patterns displayed what the AI translated as dawning comprehension. It was about your ability to imagine beyond established limits. Chen nodded. That's humanity's real strength. Not our weapons, not our technology, but our capacity to look at the impossible and ask why not. When you dismissed us as primitives, you didn't realize you were dealing with a species that had spent its entire history overcoming limitations others thought absolute. Through the neural interface, Chen could feel the Reality Forge core's power, not just its energy, but the pure potential it represented. Each bubble of altered physics was a testament to humanity's refusal to accept the universe as it was, their determination to reshape reality itself when necessary. We're detecting unusual readings from the Nexeri fleet, the science officer reported. They're attempting to modify their gravitational field generators. They're trying to replicate our reality distortion effects. Maya laughed softly. They won't succeed. Not until they understand that the technology isn't the key. It's the mindset behind it. The willingness to question everything, even the laws of physics themselves. The Nexeri ships hung in space, their perfect formation now more cautious than commanding. They had arrived expecting to find primitives barely worthy of study. Instead, they had encountered a species that had taken their mastery of physical laws and turned it into a quaint limitation to be transcended. Your species offers a choice, Vexar transmitted finally. Continue as masters of the known universe, or learn to become authors of new ones. The implications are unsettling. That's another human trait you'll have to get used to, Chen replied. We don't just push boundaries. We erase them entirely. Welcome to a universe where physics itself is open to revision. The question is, are you ready to stop mastering reality and start reimagining it? As the Reality Forge cores continued their reality-bending pulse, humanity's fleet stood as a testament to what was possible when a species refused to accept the limitations others placed upon it. The Nexeri had mastered the rules of the universe. Humanity had learned to rewrite them. 1 year after humanity's Reality Forge cores changed the face of space warfare, the grand chamber of the Nexeri High Council hummed with tension. Dr. Maya Patel stood beside Admiral Chen, watching as crystalline beings from across the galaxy debated the implications of humanity's breakthrough. The humans have not just advanced technology. High Commander Vexar addressed the assembly, his outer shell displaying patterns of deep complexity. They have fundamentally altered our understanding of what is possible. Their Reality Forge technology doesn't just manipulate physics, it rewrites it locally. The chamber's atmospheric processors struggled to keep up with the agitated color patterns flowing through the assembled Nexeri. Their entire civilization had been built on mastering the universe's laws. Humanity had proven those laws were more flexible than anyone had imagined. We have reviewed the data from the Earth encounter, the chief science coordinator announced, their crystalline form refracting light in complex patterns. Their approach is unprecedented. They didn't develop along our predicted technological paths. Instead of mastering existing physics, they asked why physics couldn't be different. Admiral Chen stepped forward, her neural interface band gleaming. That's humanity's greatest strength. We don't just solve problems. We question the context of the problems themselves. When faced with immutable laws of physics, we asked, what if they weren't immutable? The holographic displays showed footage from the battle. Reality Forge ships existing in multiple states simultaneously, spaces where cause and effect reversed, regions where the fundamental forces followed human written rules instead of natural laws. It wasn't just a technological advancement. It was a philosophical revolution in how reality itself could be approached. Your species was rated as primitive, one of the council members observed. Your understanding of fundamental forces was deemed basic. How did you conceive of this possibility? Maya smiled. Because we were primitive. We hadn't invested centuries in mastering the existing laws of physics. We were still asking basic questions, not just about how things worked, but about how they could work differently. The chamber erupted in patterns of light as the Nexari debated among themselves. Their civilization had achieved incredible things by understanding and manipulating natural laws. Humanity had just shown that understanding the laws wasn't the end goal. It was just the beginning. We have received requests, Vexar announced, from 17 Nexari research institutes to establish collaborative projects with human scientists. They wish to understand not just your technology, but your way of thinking. And you'll find, Chen replied, that we're eager to learn from you as well. Your mastery of conventional physics is incredible. Imagine what we could achieve by combining our approaches, your perfect understanding of how things are, and our ability to imagine how they could be different. Through her neural interface, Chen could feel the Prometheus's reality forge core pulsing in orbit above. Each pulse represented a space where human imagination had more weight than natural law. But it was just the beginning. We propose, Maya addressed the Council, a joint initiative, not just for technological exchange, but for philosophical exchange. The reality forge cores prove that the universe is more mutable than anyone imagined. Together, we could explore not just what is, but what could be. The council chamber's colors shifted through patterns that the translation AI interpreted as everything from excitement to fear to pure wonder. The Nexari had arrived at Earth expecting to find primitives worthy only of study and subjugation. Instead, they had found partners who could help them transcend their own limitations. There are dangers, the chief science coordinator warned. The ability to rewrite local physics, the implications for space-time stability. Of course there are dangers, Chen agreed. Any sufficiently advanced technology brings risks. But consider the possibilities. We've only scratched the surface of what the reality forge technology can do. Imagine clean energy sources that rewrite physics to make fusion trivial. Medical treatments that create zones where disease cannot exist. FTL travel that doesn't just bend space-time, but rewrites its laws entirely. Maya stepped forward, activating a holographic display of her latest theoretical models. The universe isn't a fixed set of laws to be mastered. It's a framework of possibilities waiting to be explored. The Nexari mastered the existing rules. Humanity learned to write new ones. Together, we could do more than either of us imagined possible. The Council's deliberation patterns shifted to what the AI translated as agreement. Vexar's form sparkled with complex emotions as he made the formal announcement. The Nexari Collective hereby recognizes humanity as equals. Not because you matched our mastery of physics, but because you showed us that mastery itself was a limitation. As the chamber erupted in displays of light and color, Chen thought about how far they'd come. The Nexari had arrived as conquerors, expecting to find primitives. They had found instead a species that refused to accept limitations, a species that, when pushed, would rewrite reality itself to overcome challenges. Tomorrow's dawn, Maya mused, watching the celebration, brings a universe where physics itself is open to revision, where the only real limit is our ability to imagine new possibilities. And that, Chen added, is a limitation humanity has never accepted. The reality forge cores continued their steady pulse above, each ripple in space-time a reminder that the universe was not a fixed set of laws to be mastered, but a canvas of possibilities waiting to be painted. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger reality, not just as participants in the cosmic dance, but as choreographers who could rewrite the music itself. The age of fixed physical laws was over. The era of imagination had begun.